Hello and welcome back to another episode of Baking with Bob. So today's episode we will be making shortbread and several variations of that. Today's shout out goes to, let me check my list, Louise Robinson. Thank you very much. She asked for a biscuit that she could cut with a cookie cutter with her child, so that is why we are doing this one today. There'll also be some more variations of biscuits coming up over the next coming few weeks. So let's get started. What will we need today? We will need 125 grams of room temperature butter, 55 grams of caster sugar, and 180 grams of plain flour. That is all you will need, 3 ingredients. One little tip I have for you today, if like me you haven't got any caster sugar, you've only got granulated, pop it into a blender or a NutriBullet or something like that. Give it a few blasts and it will just break those grains up into a finer sugar, so it's not quite so grainy, and you won't have to pay that extra price. So let's get cracking. First job, let's wash our hands. Okay, so hands nice and washed. Our next step is to preheat our oven. So we need our oven on 190 degrees C or 375 Fahrenheit. If it is a if it is a fan assisted oven, then just drop the temperature down to 180 or gas mark 5. So let's get cracking. So first what we need to do is we will need to beat our butter and sugar together. You can do this by hand or you can use a whisk, electronic whisk like I'm going to use. So let's get started. And so in goes the butter. Another little tip, if your butter's not at room temperature, just cut it into slices or into cubes, pop it into the microwave on 50% power for 10-second blasts and just to soften that up for you, but do not make it runny. And in goes my sugar. And then let's whisk this together. Okay, so there we go. My bowl was a little bit too big to mix this in. A smaller bowl would have been easier. But as you can see, it's all creamed together. So next what we're going to do is we're going to add in our flour. Now I don't sieve the flour for this one. You can if you like. So let's crack on with that one. And then just stir the flour in. You can use your spatula, or you can still continue with your whisk. Just bear in mind with it being powdery, it can puff up everywhere, so just do a nice low speed. And there we go, you can see we've got a fine breadcrumb style texture. Now this is the part where if you've got optional extras, chocolate chips, dried fruit, nuts, absolutely anything you want to put in at all, you can put that into the mixture now. So into mine, I'm going to add just a teaspoon's worth of caramel flavouring. You can use vanilla, orange, any flavour at all that you like. And I'm also going to add chocolate chips to mine. And then I'm going to stir that in. I used about 80 grams of chocolate chips for mine. And there we go, that's all evenly mixed into there. Just bear with me one moment, someone's at the door. Okay, so once you have, sorry about that, I had to answer the door. Once you have your mixture, it will turn out two ways. One, it'll be crumbly, like mine, and then it will need pressing together. Or if your butter was at the right temperature and it was soft enough, you should have a nice smooth paste ready to make your dough ball. So let's do that next. So what you need to do is press your mixture. As you can see, like I've only done a little press and already it's starting to stick together. So I find the best way to do it is to get some cling film. And pop some cling film, if I've got any left. Pop some cling film onto your surface. Empty your mixture into the cling film. And then wrap straight away. Squishing it as you wrap. And then once it's in, then you can give it a good old squish into a nice ball. Stops your hands getting too dirty, stops you touching the dough too much. And that is your shortbread dough. Now you've got two options here. You can either pop the whole thing into the fridge for 30 minutes and then take it out and roll it and cut it with your cookie cutters or whatever shape that you like. Or you can, from this point where it is now, you can take it out and you can just cut it and put those slices on the baking tray straight into the oven. I'm wanting to do shapes, so I'm going to pop this into the fridge for 30 minutes. Okay, so the shortbread has been in the fridge for about 30 minutes, so we're going to take that out and then we're going to lightly flour our surface and we're going to roll out our dough to about 1 centimetre thick. So let's get the stuff out the fridge. I don't know why I paused there. So a little bit of flour on the work surface and a little bit on the rolling pin, just as always. A good thing to do with the ball when you get it out of the fridge as well is just give it a good compression to make sure it's all tight. It holds its shape through pressure. So let's take this out. One other tip as well, actually, if you want to make this dough up in advance, you can, and you can leave it in that cling film well wrapped in the fridge for up to a week, or you can freeze it for up to a month. Just make sure that when you freeze it, it's thoroughly defrosted in the fridge for 24 hours, and then roll and continue. Alright, so let's get on with it. So here is my dough, and let's give this a roll. Remember, like I said before, to roll and turn. There we go. Now mine is starting to split a little bit, but that's because I've got so many chocolate chips in mine. Roll it, turn it, let's have a look. So I just want to be a little bit thinner. And then grab the cookie cutter of your choice, so let's go with a circle for now. Press right down. And there we go. There are the first shortbread biscuits. Let's do a few circles. And a couple of stars. There we go. So next what you want to do is you want to get your pan and put some baking parchment on the top. Again, I've used a little bit of spray inside just to attach it on, and then we're going to lay on our shortbreads onto here. Oh, that's the battery just died in the close-up camera, so I'll put them on here and then I'll show you on the big camera. pop these all on, and then there's one more final stage before we pop them into the oven. So let's just get all of these that I've done so far. There we go. So the final stage, just so I'm on camera there, the final stage just before they go in the oven is to sprinkle some sugar onto the top. And once I've done that, again I'll show you on the big camera because the small camera has just died. You can add the sugar actually after they come out of the oven, but you'd need to add the sugar straight away while they're still hot so they stick. So I find the best way to do it, put the sugar on before they go in the oven, they caramelise really nicely and stick to the top. So there we go, there's my first tray. Got a bit of a mixture of shapes on there, and you can see just a light sprinkling of sugar on the top, and then we're going to pop these straight into the oven and bake for about 15-20 minutes, and I like to turn the tray around halfway through just to make sure they're all evenly baked. So let's pop them in. So they're in the oven. I will turn them around after 10 minutes, and you will know when they're done because the bottoms will be golden brown and the top will be a light golden brown. So I will check back in with you when I take everything out of the oven. Okay, so it's been about 18 minutes. I've already taken the tray out and turned it round. I've also re-rolled the rest of the dough that was left. I cut those out and added them to a tray. So just keep repeating that process till all your mixture is gone. So I'm now going to check on these shortbreads and see how they're looking. There we go. I don't know if you can see there. They look done. They've got a nice brown edge to them and a golden brown on the top. A piece of advice for you as well is just to leave them to cool slightly on the tray before you remove them, or else you could break them because they're still quite soft in the middle because they're warm, unless you've got the knack and you're able to pick up the whole sheet and place it onto your cooling rack. But again, I would just wait a couple of minutes until they're nice and cool. Okay, so my biscuits are now done, my shortbreads. I'm just going to show you to the camera now. You can see, is it focused? You can see it's nice and golden brown, and the bottom is as well. Obviously with mine with chocolate in, they do look a bit browner. The other thing as well is when you do something like a star with a pointy edge, you'll find that the edges, I mean I've got chocolate chips again like you say, but you'll find that the edges will cook before the middle. So I do recommend using a round or a more rounded shape that hasn't got points just to save those edges. And that's it for today. So if you would like to send me yours or any versions that you've made, please feel free to leave a comment down below or to send them to bobbaking.with.bob on Instagram, or you can find me on Facebook, Baking with Bob. There's a page there for your contributions and recommendations. And that's it for another week. So thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much if you've had a go and baked along, and I will see you next time.